The Chateau at Versailles in France is an amazing place to visit. In its day, it cost the equivalent price of what we would pay now for a modern city airport. It was an object of universal admiration in its time, enhancing France's prestige on the world stage. For a first-time visitor, its scale and size is often completely hard to come to terms with. In a word, it's overwhelming. Just to walk around it requires that you be fit, wear good walking shoes, and take water and sustenance to keep going. Otherwise, most of your time will be spent on huge queues. It is a very popular destination, not only with the rest of the world, but also with the French themselves, who are anxious to understand many of the complexities of their culture and its tumultuous history. Louis XIV of France became king in 1643, when his father Louis XIII died. He was only 5 years of age. The affairs of state were placed in the hands of Cardinal Mazarin and his mother Anne of Austria. Not long after his father's death, an internal political and military civil struggle began. Now known as the Fronde, it was all about reining back the growing power of royal government and giving French aristocrats more power. At one point it became so dangerous, Louis XIV's mother had to hide the young king. From then on he grew up in a gilded cage, and until he came of age, Louis suffered from neglect, poverty, misfortune, fear, humiliation, cold and hunger. He would never forget the complete terror and instability of that time, and most historians believe that his later insistence on ruling absolutely and depriving his nobility of any powers at all was a result of his childhood experiences. Louis XIV of France, 1638 to 1715, was 21 years of age when he said the now famous words, "L'État, c'est moi," I am the state, taking control of his own destiny when Cardinal Mazarin died. He could remember the dark days of the Fronde vividly, and it now impacted on his decision to move the court out of Paris, where mob rule was always a possibility. He had decided to transform his father's modest hunting lodge, which was nearby the village of Versailles, into a grand estate housing both his family and the court of France. At Versailles, Louis would build high walls and install gates for security, billeting his own private army and becoming master of all he surveyed. Louis XIV surrounded himself with all the top creative people of his day. He protected writers who sang his praises, the architects Louis Lavaux and Francois Mansart, his designer Charles Lebrun and André Lenotre, his much-loved gardener. They provided the stage set on which he stood and imposed his visions of beauty and nature on everyone. At Versailles, Louis XIV watched his buildings go up. His first Minister of State, Jean-Baptiste Colbert, helped him to supervise the construction, obtaining from him the power and means to carry out an economic royal revolution. Colbert aimed at making France economically self-sufficient while maximizing its exports. Manufacturers, the Navy, the Merchant Marines, a modern-day police organization, roads, ports and canals all emerged at about the same time, with Louis himself attending to details. In Comte de Saint-Simon's memoirs, he describes the court at Versailles as a multitude of voyeurs, all observing each other's secrets. "As we were walking in this small hallway," he said, "I saw in the mirror at the end of the passage that he was laughing while lowering his eyes, like a man enjoying the conversation he was overhearing." A mirror allows nothing to hide in the shadows, and at Versailles they were inset into the walls and the doors, so that it became a theatre of reflection and artifice. What more perfect symbol could be found for the dazzling reign of France's King of Light, Louis the Sun King? From the window of his private apartments overlooking the marble courtyard, with his telescope, he spied on the comings and goings of his nobles. When the Hall of Mirrors was presented to the public in 1684, everyone found something to say in its praise. 17 false window casements opposite 17 real windows were covered with 18 mirrors, placed side by side, unframed, joined by finely carved gilded copper frames. There were 306 panes of glass blended to give the appearance of being part of a larger single pane, the hall vanishing in the radiance of shimmering surfaces and bursts of light. Everyone admired the Sun King from head to toe without looking at him, which was great fun. But then he could also see them. Some visitors described the hall as the architecture of emptiness, reality and reflection supporting each other reciprocally. Over the years since it was finished, the Hall of Mirrors has reflected many great moments in the history of the world. At the time, Colbert, Louis I's minister and master of ceremonies, used it to launch the Royal Mirror Company. Its success gave considerable momentum to the glazing industry and other manufacturers in France. Increasingly, the public became aware of the decor possibilities of a mirror. France's appearance and way of life changed forever during the reign of Louis XIV, the Sun King. Many great towns throughout France underwent metamorphosis, and the landscape altered forever as Louis devoted himself energetically to all his building projects. Today, little remains of his other splendid palaces at Saint-Germain and Marly. Well cursed as an extravagance when it was under construction and accused of having ruined the nation at the time of the French Revolution, the Chateau at Versailles stands today as a monument to French achievement and the many milestones reached in its historical and cultural journey.